Hey folks, welcome back. You know, I'm in a really good mood today. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing nothing but a t-shirt. Well, I'm wearing pants, but springtime is finally here. The days are longer, the snow's starting to melt, the birds are all coming back from down south. Literally nothing could ruin my good mood. Some things are just timeless, right? No matter how far we progress into the future, some things retain their value forever. Star Wars first came out in 1977 and its legacy has lived on. Mario and Zelda have been going since the 80s and have managed to transcend every generational gap. But that's not always the case. Some movies, TV shows, video games, etc. are massive cultural icons during their time, but just don't work past the time they existed. Some franchises just simply don't stand the test of time. Toe Jam and Earl, Time Splitters, Echo the Stupid-Ass Dolphin, good fucking riddance. But one of those gone, but not forgotten video game series was Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim is weird, you know? He was huge in the 90s. I'm telling you, man, he was as iconic as video game characters could be. If Super Smash Bros. Existed back then, Earthworm Jim definitely would have been top candidate for a guest fighter. And on top of that, his games were considered really quality titles back then. They received pretty much universal critical acclaim, and to this day, people still consider them fantastic games. And yet here we are in 2022, and like, who the fuck is Earthworm Jim? He's an earthworm in a spacesuit with a laser gun. Does anybody know this man? Does anybody know who he is or about his whereabouts? His family is very worried. You know, I've always been aware, just pretend that I'm holding the game, okay? It's fucking expensive. I've always been aware of Earthworm Jim, but it's kind of weird because I don't really understand why. I've never played a single game in the series, and yet he still occupies this strange spot in my mind, which is kind of like a joke because he's a worm, so it's like he's infected my brain or something. So just for fun, what do you say that we look at Earthworm Jim for the Super Nintendo? Or the Sega Genesis, whichever one you prefer. Whatever will make you subscribe to my YouTube channel. So Earthworm Jim was developed by Shiny Entertainment and released in 1994 for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Shiny Entertainment doesn't exist anymore. They merged with The Collective in 2006 to form Double Helix Games, which themselves were acquired by Amazon Game Studios in 2014. So there you go. On the pipeline of Jeff Bezos founding Amazon on a Native American reserve to avoid paying taxes to him becoming a real-life supervillain, Earthworm Jim is in there somewhere. To my surprise, the game doesn't start you with any context, it just drops you right in. For some reason I was expecting some sort of opening cutscene or something. I mean, given that the protagonist of this game is an earthworm in a spacesuit, I was kind of hoping for an explanation. How does this happen? What events lead to this? Anyway, the first level is called New Junk City, which is pretty funny. The controls are simple. All you can really do is jump, go pew pew with your laser gun, and do this funny little whip attack where Jim pulls himself out of his spacesuit. It's weird, but I like it. The objective is basically just to get to the end of the level, which is usually much easier said than done, let me tell you. The levels are huge and confusing and usually involve a lot of vertical progression, which means that it has my favorite video game trope, where if you fall once, you're back to the beginning of the fucking stage and you have to do everything all fucking over again. So you start the level and immediately get attacked by a dog, and then the 90s were so fucking weird, man. See, again, this is another instance where some sort of cutscene or explanation or something would have helped. Like, why did I do that? Why has the cow been launched? It was stopping me from progressing, so it was clearly something you're required to do. I feel like I walked into a theater when the movie was already 3/4 finished, you know? The first boss is like a dude who shoots fish out of his mouth. I don't know, man. With him defeated, we can move on to the next level. Andy Asteroids? I don't understand the question. So after each level, you gotta go to this like warp speed Sonic 2 looking minigame type thing, where you're racing against this other character named Psycrow, and if you lose the race, you gotta fight him. And for some reason, this level is called Andy Asteroids, and also there's a question mark on there too. I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason, but like, you know, who cares, I guess. Anyway, the next level is called What the Heck? Whoa, easy on the language there, Tiger. This game is rated, well, it's not rated anything, because the ESRB didn't exist yet, so I guess say whatever you want. So this level is hell. Oh, alright, okay. Level 2 is hell. Level 2. I mean, hell seems kind of final to me, but it's your game, I guess. I'm not being hyperbolic here either. This level is hell. There's fire bursting from the floor, lava in the background, the devil is back there jamming, and the music is Night on Bald Mountain by this guy, mixed with people screaming in the background. Although strangely enough, it only plays that song for one loop, and then it goes into this weird kind of like slow jam type thing. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I would have picked that kind of music for a level designed after hell, honestly. But I'm way off topic here. Sorry. A little bit of a crisis was triggered in my brain by, well, everything that's happened in this game so far, so, you know, on to level 2. The level itself is kind of what I imagine hell is actually like, so that's kind of neat. It's got these floating demon monsters that just fly at you and exist in your hitbox until all your health is gone, these weird slippy platform things, one of which sends you directly into a hole, leaps of faith, the entire environment is hyper detailed, and yet it's also basically impossible to determine what is a platform and what isn't, which of the background spikes can actually hurt you, etc. Eventually I got to a dead end here with this spinning crystal thing. What the f am I supposed to do here? These spikes hurt you. If you try to jump onto the spinning crystal, you just fall off. I'm losing my mind here, man. Why is this 2D platformer so confusing? Arthur, do something, man. Okay, well, it's a moving platform. It doesn't seem that complicated in retrospect, but moving on, whatever. You know, I'm starting to be reminded of a certain game starring a dolphin. But anyway, I'll shit talk this game beyond comprehension once I've finished it. For now, let's just see what happens to good old Earthworm Jim. Once you have completed hell, Jimbo here is for some reason out of his suit, and you have to fight this cat guy, I guess. I wouldn't have guessed that he was a cat, but he makes cat noises, so I guess that he's supposed to be a cat. For the first phase, you just have to jump over his fire blast so that he destroys his own platform. And then in the second phase, he pops out into the background and attacks you faster than the human brain is capable of reacting. But if God blesses you and gives you the ability to actually beat him, you can move on to the next level. Andy Asteroids. The next level is called Down the Tubes, and it's a water level. But there's no swimming. To my utter shock and awe, I actually found myself kind of liking this level. It's kind of just like a standard 2D platforming level. It's tough at parts, but it's not really unfair. It also has this weird part where you get into this like fishbowl rocket type thing, and you gotta get through this little maze before the timer in the top right runs out. It's actually pretty neat. All you have to do is angle the little rocket things at the bottom and then press A to shoot you in that direction. It's a little confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty fun. It's actually a pretty cool mechanic for a Super Nintendo game. Andy Asteroids! Next up you got Not a Problem, which is actually kind of neat. It's just a boss fight with this guy. You gotta bonk him into the wall while bungee cording. There is a one-hit KO enemy at the bottom that's extremely annoying, but overall it's not bad. Don't tell me. Oh my god. Next up is level 5. That's pretty funny. Just calling it level 5. I'll give you that one. That's pretty good. Level 5 is actually pretty great, honestly. It's probably my favorite level in the game. It's just a 2D platforming level, man. It's frustrating at times, but in general, it's pretty fun. There's also a secret level you can access through level 5 called Who Turned Out the Lights, and it's fucking stupid. It's just dark. That's it. That's the whole level is in the dark. The enemies don't really attack you. You just kind of gotta run around and jump and hope you find the door to the next area. And then you beat the level, and that's it. There's nothing to it. You gained nothing from doing that. You just head back into level 5. Andrew Asteroid! The next level is For Pete's Sake. Remember that time I said nice things about Earthworm Jim? This level can suck my... So basically the premise of For Pete's Sake is there's this little purple dog who walks on his own, and you gotta whip him so that he jumps over the pits, and you gotta whip the tentacles so that they don't grab him, and it's not as easy as it looks. If Doggy here, I guess his name is Pete, I don't know. If he gets hurt or falls into a pit, he transforms into this monster alien type thing, grabs Earthworm Jim and pulls you back to earlier in the stage, so you gotta do it again. I am not kidding when I say that this is one of the most infuriating things that I have ever done in a video game. I know it doesn't look that hard, but holy fucking Christ, man. This part where you gotta run ahead of him, shoot him to make him stop running, then you gotta jump on the teeter-totter and then run back behind him, whip him to make him jump, then you gotta bounce him, but he never bounces the right way and he falls, and you gotta do it all over again. And then on the 50th try, you finally get him across, but then he gets grabbed by the tentacle and he grabs you and you gotta do it all over again. And what the f***? Who is responsible for this? This is hell. This is my personal hell. When I die, if God judges my life to have been led in sin, this will be my hell, replaying this level for all of eternity. Michael Meteorites! The next level is called... It was at this point, in the 8th level, that I figured out how the flying mechanic in this game works. Earthworm Jim has this propeller ability that lets you float down a little slower, and I could never really figure out how to do it. Turns out that you gotta mash the jump button for it to work, so there you go, now I know. Not a criticism of the game, I never figured it out. That's on me. Buttville actually has 2 parts. The first one, you gotta float down this spike maze. It's actually surprisingly not as difficult as it looks. The second part of the level... Holy shit. You got swinging hooks, spikes, enemies that one-shot you. Buttville Part 2 turns boys into men. You come out a different person than you went in, man, I'm telling you. How the fuck are you gonna have a level called Buttville and make it this challenging? I swear to God, if you jump back when you get hit like in Castlevania and Mega Man, this game would be straight up fucking impossible. But anyway, you fight a boss and then move on. Thanks. Wait, what? Who's this? What's going on? Wait, hold up. That was the end of the game? Man, if there was ever a game that needed a cutscene at the beginning, this is that game. Who is this? I was on a journey to save a princess this whole time? This guy is the final boss? That guy? I didn't even talk about him. Jesus Christ, bro. I feel like I got hit by a car. I've never been so blindsided by a Super Nintendo game. Well, that's the end of the game, I guess. So, let's just move on to the gameplay. I'm sorry, I was just really blindsided by that. Earthworm Jim is a weird game. Well, I mean, it's supposed to be weird, but that's not what I meant. I went into this game with a clean slate, and then I really didn't like it, but then by the end, I kind of liked some stuff about it. I don't know, man. I'm very conflicted about this worm game. But let's leave the existential stuff till later. For now, let's just talk about the gameplay. Earthworm Jim is not a very good game, honestly. It's very flawed in many ways. The movement is fine. It's not a terribly difficult game to control, but everything else about it is so needlessly infuriatingly frustrating most of the time. For starters, the level design is all over the place. The levels are so big, confusing, and it's like they tried to go for a puzzle platforming type thing where you gotta open up paths and stuff, but it's never satisfying because the game is so bad at telling you what's going on. Like, the solution to a puzzle to progress in the level is always way off screen, and it almost never indicates to you what you just did by flipping a switch or whatever. It just halts your progression, you know? You flip a switch or hit a button or whatever, and then you walk around like a dumbass before eventually thinking, well, I guess I better backtrack because I'm clearly not supposed to be here right now. I don't know, like this is a 2D platformer, man. It doesn't need to be this confusing. And if that wasn't bad enough, the game is so unforgiving with its level design at times. There are so many situations where you're meant to jump from a moving platform, grab onto a hook with your whip, swing, and grab onto another hook that you couldn't see until you were midair. And if you fail, you gotta fall down way earlier in the stage and you gotta painstakingly make your way all the way back up, the whole time knowing that you're probably just gonna fail again because existence is suffering. I honestly don't know how to feel about the difficulty of this game. Like, Earthworm Jim is a very hard game, but I don't think I can remember a game that I played that has such a wide variation in difficulty. Like, on one hand, you got Buttville, where you're on a platform that slides you off if you stand still on it, so you gotta keep jumping, while also trying to whip this guy so that he doesn't one-shot you when you land there. And then on the other hand, you got these stupid Curtis Comet levels where you would have to not be paying attention to lose. Like, why are these even here? Why not just move on to the next level? Another huge issue I have with this game is the visual level design. It's one of those games where the foreground bleeds into the background, so it can be really confusing to determine what you can and can't interact with. There are some exceptions like level 5 and Down the Tubes, but even still there are some platforms that are real toss-ups as to whether you're supposed to be able to interact with them or not. The absolute worst culprit for this is the second level, What the Heck. Everything in this level is brown, yellow, or orange. It's borderline impossible to tell what you can land on, what hurts you, what you can interact with. It kind of reminds me of that dolphin game. You know the one? What do you mean, no you don't? Yes you do, it's the only dolphin game. But the level design aside, I think the two most annoying things to me about this game are the combat and the fact that the camera is way too zoomed in. You can almost never tell what's coming ahead of you, which is most of the time enemies throwing shit at you before you even knew they existed. I feel like I have to inch my way through every level because I'm scared that some enemy is gonna come out of nowhere and take half my health. I thought this game was called Earthworm Jim, not Inchworm Jim. Coupled with the claustrophobic camera is the clunky combat controls. So Earthworm Jim has a gun, right? But it only has so much ammo. So for the most part, you kind of want to try and kill as many things as possible with melee attacks. Fortunately, you have this whip attack. Unfortunately, it doesn't work very well. I think this game took a lot of beats from Super Castlevania 4, what with the whip attack and the swinging and stuff. The difference, however, is that in Castlevania, every enemy within the whip takes damage. Earthworm Jim's whip, on the other hand, only deals damage in that little whip crack sparkle right there. This means that you have to be perfectly distanced from an enemy for your whip to hurt them. And that's really frustrating given how balls to the wall hard this game is. Like, look at all this bullshit, man. How is anybody supposed to micromanage like this? I didn't learn how to tie my shoes until I was 9 years old. This is outside of my range of ability. I feel bad about ripping this game to shreds, because I don't feel exclusively rage toward it. There are a few things I like about Earthworm Jim. Down the Tubes, level 5, and It's Not a Problem are actually really fun levels. Frustrating at times, sure, but fun nonetheless. Like when I play What the Heck, I think this game is badly designed, whereas when I play Down the Tubes or level 5 or It's Not a Problem, I think this game came out in 1994. They have some questionable game design choices, sure, but they feel more of the time than actually bad. Except for the guy at the bottom of It's Not a Problem who kills you in one hit. He can go f*** himself. Probably the best thing about Earthworm Jim, in my opinion, is the character and the sense of humor it has. Like, you can tell that the development team had a lot of fun making this game. The humor is stupid and immature, and it's very 90s, but not in a bad way. It doesn't come off as outdated. Sure, I bet it was a lot funnier in its own time, but it feels more like a time capsule of 90s culture than like a weird in-joke that you had to be around at the time to understand. It's not Gex, is basically what I'm saying. Best of all, in my opinion, is the main character. If anything about this game is deserving of a lasting legacy, it's Earthworm Jim himself. He's so unique. He's just an earthworm in a muscly spacesuit. It's brilliant. He's such a conceptually stupid character, but you can't help but love him. He also exudes so much personality. Like, he's so stupid and goofy. He thinks he's this epic space adventurer, but he's actually a complete doofus. I think that's why I feel so conflicted about this game. Deep down, there's a great premise here, and it's so close to being a fantastic game, but it just misses the mark in some ways. I don't know how to feel, man. I haven't been this conflicted since President Joe Biden contacted me and asked me to. And that, my friends, is Earthworm Jim, starring Earthworm Jim. It's weird. It's a weird game. I can't honestly say that I predicted feeling the way that I do about it. Is it bad? Yeah. But it's also kind of good. But it's also kind of bad. So, I don't know how I feel, man. Would I recommend it? Yeah. But no. But yes, but no. And yes, before you comment, I am aware that the Super Nintendo version is kind of the worst version of this game because it's missing levels and stuff. But I didn't know that until after I had already beaten it. So, it's a little late for for what ifs now, isn't it? But to sum up my feelings, allow me to paraphrase myself from earlier in the video. Earthworm Jim. Could be worse. Could be Gex.